Hello, good morning. It's 9:06. I've been up for like 30 minutes, I think. Or it's more like 15, 20 minutes. But I used the restroom, weighed myself, and then I wrote down my like dreams. I bet just I have a like notebook that I write down my dreams every night. Um I've been doing it for this year I'm on day 65 because there was like 1 or 2 days where I just didn't remember. So whenever I don't remember, I just don't write it down. Um, but yeah, out of the I think there's been like 2 days or 3 days where I've missed because I just don't remember. But yeah. Anyway, that's why I remember my dreams so well. I think is because I do write them down when when I'm done. I also, if I wake up during the middle of the night, I like subconsciously like try to remember that dream, like keep it in my head. And then when I wake up, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I had this dream." And then when I woke up and went back to bed, I had another dream. And so there might be like 2 or 3 dreams that I'll write down sometimes, but anyway, I'm at 273.2. And looking at this month, I started at 275. A week of kind of like back and forth. And then at the start of this week, which I would count as Saturday, at the start of this week, I was at 272.4, and now it's like back and forth again. So I don't know. Well, okay. I know what needs to change, but I don't know the best way of going about it. So what needs to change is the what's it called? The activity. Today I'm gonna go to the gym and not do treadmill to see what that looks like. I'm gonna try to like wear myself out through like basketball. I'm not sure if I'm gonna play with people or not. We'll see. But basketball plus racquetball. Do some like racquetball drills. Run around a little bit. Do some basketball like drills. Run around a little bit. And see if those will take the place of what's it called? The treadmill. Or maybe I might do like I don't know. I guess I'll have to look to see if outside is like good weather. Because if it's fine, then I could just walk and then maybe do some of that as well. But I'm not sure. But I think this week what I'm gonna really try to hone in on is like figuring out what level of activity the tipping point is. Because I know that an hour of treadmill, if I can stomach it, will get me a little bit of tippage towards like losing weight. So I don't know. I've also been thinking about the trip. Next Tuesday. So, today's the 10th of March. So, I don't know. I think my goal for this week is to, at some point throughout the week, post all of the videos that I have filmed of, you know, the different backstory stuff and the sorry, my brain's just not working. What I filmed yesterday. The shadow work, there we go. The shadow work video. Getting that all posted, and then also making sure that I have all of the videos for the upcoming trip week already kind of compiled and uploaded without actually posting, so that I have that full week basically done. I think I'll have like 1 or 2 days towards the end where I'll have to upload something from the trip. I'm going to bring a laptop, so hopefully I got to get that laptop set up too. Like, I need to put OBS and DaVinci on there. I'm not sure if I'm going to bring my mic. I might do it from my phone, which I also have, hold on. I have, if I can find it. Where are you? There you are. I have a lapel mic. Just these little guys. So, theoretically, I won't have to have like a really shitty mic for my phone. So, at least be like somewhat reasonable. But, I don't know. We'll see. I don't really have too much actually scheduled for this week, which I think is good, because that means I can get a lot of stuff done. I might see my friend, depending on if he's out of the hospital or not. He wants to leave today, so theoretically he may leave, and then obviously I won't visit. If not, I'll see if he wants me to bring him some food or something, but okay, I'm gonna get some stuff done, and I really do need to hone in on just walking. More walking. Less treadmill. More racquetball. More basketball. So, okay. Bye. Hello, it is 12:45, and I got my food. A full bowl today because I was eating yesterday, but anyway. I had a really nice walk. I went out, went to a close trail, walked for, let's see, it was like 9:40 when I started walking, 9:45, and then sorry, it was 9:47. I think I keep that, like, that specific time keeps coming back to my head. But anyway, and then I made it to this like little lake, and I sat down, and no one was around. There was some animals, there were some birds. Just sat down and relaxed. It was really beautiful. I felt like a resonance between my internal peacefulness and my external peacefulness, and that was great. And then I walked back. And by the time I got back, it was like 11:30, like 11:25 or something. It was right around like an hour and a half to 2 hours. But that was really like that was really nice. Communing with nature and relaxing. And then I listened to a couple tarots. And I guess, yeah, like, here I am. I really like the vast difference between the walks I've had where I'm outside in nature versus the treadmill is so vast. I feel when I'm walking in nature, it feels like I'm getting sent energy to me. I don't know. I feel like energized after the walk as opposed to tired. There was just an ease with which I was doing my walk, even though there was lots of hills. You know, the terrain was uneven. It was great. So I think this is kind of something where it just shows me that this is the thing that I should be doing whenever I have a chance. When it's raining out, sure, no problem. But yeah, I think this needs to be more consistent. And then I think on the days when I go to the gym to do my lifting, I think doing some basketball, racquetball, or swimming, depending on, you know, like, maybe I'll just swim on Fridays. I mean, I could do like a racquetball once a week, basketball once a week, and swimming once a week. That's not a bad idea. Sorry, there was a piece of kombu stuck in my teeth that I finally got out. Yeah. I don't know. It's like that peace that I've been feeling. It's great. It's just a hum in the background. And because I'm letting it kind of sit there, it really stops a lot of the overthinking. It's kind of like a blanket where I can wrap myself up in it, and I just know that everything's going to be okay, and I'm going to do everything that I need to do when it needs to happen, and I don't need to stress about it. There's more to that. It's kind of like, especially when I was in the forest. I guess the trail is a forest. It felt almost like just the love that I have for just everything was almost like being bounced off and reflected back to me while I was there. Like, I was loving all the trees, the birds, the solid ground I was walking on, the little pond or lake that I was just sitting next to, the little stump I sat on, the birds that were around. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it was like overflowing. Like, I had space in my heart for my love, and then there was this other kind of, well, I'll just say, I feel the love from this future person that I'm going to meet. I don't know when she's going to show up. Well, okay, I feel like maybe it's going to be June or July. It's like right around that time. But I don't want to put any specifics on that. It may change, but yeah, it's like I can feel her love as well, which is really bizarre. In my heart, I can feel two distinct things: my love, and then there's another love. I guess I'm assuming it's her, but I don't know. I get the feeling it is. So it's like, it's more than this an assumption, less than like concrete fact. So, but it's always been there. I just haven't seen it. And loving myself kind of opened myself up to realizing that it's there. And yeah, it's like I can't fathom how I could feel more love than I do. And that's really weird. Because, yeah, I don't know. It's like it doesn't matter that other people, I don't feel their love because I'm already overflowing. So yeah. Not that I can't make space, but it's more of like, I don't know. I don't really know how to really describe this. But, yeah. It's like, even though we haven't met physically, it's like we've already met. We already know each other. And I don't know, maybe my love is also being sent to her and she can feel it as well. I don't know. But it's like I was so worried for so long about how this stuff is going to turn out. I honestly, like, it doesn't even matter how it turns out now. It's like, I'm just excited to be in the present moment. And I don't know. I don't have to... Like, I think this is truly just... I've just let go. Completely. Or let go completely. There we go. And... it's really freeing. It's kind of like it was that last little bit that I was so worried about. And it's like everything's going to work the way it's supposed to work. I don't need to like struggle. I don't need to try and like try extra hard. What I'm doing is just fine. And if I need to do something else, it'll show up. And I'll do it. And I won't even think about it. And that's it. Yeah. It's nice. Okay. I'm gonna eat my food and enjoy the rest of the day. It's been a great day. All right, thanks. Hello, it is 8:41. I've got my cereal and the chickpeas. Oh, okay. Well, so I ended up going to a store to go and resupply, and then found out that a friend of mine that I had known a while back found out he had like some really tough like mental issues, went to like get some psychiatric care. So that was like, yeah, obviously, like I had to call him at that point when I found out. So then I had to talk with him, and then afterwards I went and checked in on my buddy who's in the hospital, and brought him some food. Today was Philly cheesesteak. He was feeling a Philly cheesesteak, and so we got one. And yeah, I think we talked a little bit about just stuff, and throughout all of like, I was having a conversation with my roommate, and he was like, "Whoa, you are like, you're different. Like, what happened to you? Where is the person I knew?" And I didn't think I had changed that much in like a week and a half. But no, he's like distinctly can tell that there's like a difference. And I just told him like, "Hey, look." The first thing he asked was like, "Are you in a cult?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, why would you think that? So it's like, to be clear, no, I'm not in a cult. This like New York thing is not like, I'm not going to get into some devious cult thing. Like, it's very innocuous. Um, but I don't know, like talking to my roommate, then talking to um, my friend who had like a mental breakdown, and then talking to my other buddy who's in the hospital. It's like in all three instances, I see how to I see the path towards all of them feeling incredibly happy and like a way to totally cure the like depression, because they're all three of them are depressed. um and there's really there's a lesson here that it's a really hard lesson, but now that I've kind of come out the other side of, like, I can distinctly feel the difference from, like, I don't know when I posted. It must have been, I mean, I guess technically a week and a half. That's before I like had the final kind of healing thing for my inner child. Not that, like, obviously I think that there's more inner child work that I could do in the future. I don't know what that will look like, but like I feel whole inside. There's like I've talked about this like overflowing love. There's like a peace. There's a serenity there. It's very much like no one can fuck with that now. Like, all of these things that are happening around me with like, it's funny, like, hearing about my buddy being in the, like, a mental hospital to, like, get some help. I'm not, like, there's no distraught feelings about that. It's more about, like, and it's not like I'm numb. It's more like I now see what is happening from another framework. And so I'm not sad. Like, obviously, I wish that he wouldn't have to go through what he's going through. But this is part of his path. Just like everyone else, they're on their paths. And I can try and give suggestions. Like, I was telling my buddy about how it's like, hey, I know you're in there and you have a lot of time to think. Here's where I was, because we resonated really deeply with, we were both incredibly depressed. And so we connected on that front of, like, we understood each other. And I'm like, look, I got out of that because I found the root issue and I solved it. You need to find your root issue. And if you find it, then you can work on it. And it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of struggle. But it's totally possible. And, telling him this, it's kind of like he couldn't, I think he was still too numb from, like, everything that was going on with him, to where, like, he couldn't even really register what I was saying, I don't think. So I just told him, hey, if you ever want to reach out, hey, maybe I can come and visit. He's really far away. But I'm like, look, I can come visit and we can just vibe at some point. But with all these kind of interactions I've been having, I can feel the shift where I'm walking a totally... It's like there's a small thin film that separates what once we were in like the same kind of... the same sphere of existing. And now I've stepped out of that sphere and walked into another sphere, and now there's this thin separation to where they can't understand where I'm at this point. And it's nothing against them. They just haven't been in the new bubble I'm in. But because I've been in the bubble they've been in, I can understand where they're at and what it takes to get to the bubble that I'm at. And it's really hard because once you step into this new line of like existing, you realize that you truly are the creator of your reality in the truest sense of the word, where the internal radiates to the external. It's not the other way around. All the things you get externally cannot influence the internal stuff. You think maybe it can. It can't. You have to go from inside out, not outside in. And that frame of shift where, of course, everyone's looking to external validation, external stuff to fix the inside. Sorry, to heal the inside, not fix, to heal the inside. They're just looking all around, wondering why they can't heal the inside. It's because you're looking in the wrong place. If you want to heal the inside, you've got to look at the inside. So that's why I think it's so baffling to people. And this is also why I can't physically get someone to understand. And this is what the paths are for. Basically, until we've hit the point where we have to look inside, or we like feel ready to look inside, we can't get there. And it's all like, all of this is to help people get there. And once you shift, I mean, number one, you can't go back. Like, technically, if you really wanted to, you could step back into the old bubble. But it's kind of like, why would you want to do that? There's like, once you see, you can't unsee. And I think that's good, because it's kind of like, I don't know why I'd want to forget that I'm creating my reality from the inside out. So I think it makes it incredibly challenging to interact with people who just they aren't even interested. Like, it's one thing if someone is like attentively listening. Like, for an example, the one friend who I had met twice at this point, once to go for a walk around his area, and the second time, or I guess the first time, to go get some like coffee. I just got water, but like, and then the second time to go for a walk around a nice park area. Interacting with him is very different than interacting with a lot of these other people that I'm like referring to, where he may still be in the same bubble, but he's actively looking for a way out. He knows that there's something else that can happen. And so, as I started talking with him, it's like, I think he can see because he's looking. The other three are not looking. And that's okay. They're not at that point of looking. But it's a very distinct difference. And so I'm not sure what the best course of action is for people who are not looking. Because obviously I can't just give my energy freely and drain myself. Like, that's not tenable at all. So instead, this is why it's like filling all of the internal stuff up first, and then the overflow excess will show up. And that's something that obviously, like, if I don't need it because I'm overflowing already, then it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to help people. But something interesting that was said in one of the readings I was listening to today, there's this there was a mention of that they were doing a reading that just popped up as like a, I don't know if twin flame is the correct thing for what that specific one was, but they were talking about how like the person or collectives that they were reading for those people, and I would include myself in this, have never experienced someone who when they feel my energy and, what's going on internally, when I like exude it externally, they don't try to pull the energy down or take the energy. Instead, it's like an exchange where they're receiving some of the energy that I'm like exuding out, and then I'm receiving some of the energy they're exuding out, and there's like a positive feedback loop where it's like there are people out there who you can do that with, and there's a greater amount of energy, and you, instead of feeling drained after interacting, you feel rejuvenated, revitalized. Similarly to how I think I felt in the forest, where I woke up and I was like a little tired, but like I felt good. And then as I walked through the forest, I got more energy to where I could have walked for hours. Now, would my legs physically like be capable of that? Probably not. But the energy I had, I could have just kept going. And that is like people like that those are the people that I need to be interacting with. Because it is I am very tired. I can feel the pull, the drain that I felt interacting throughout the day with people who, again, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not trying to point fingers. They're on their path, and that's fine. But I can tell. I couldn't tell before that that's why I kept feeling drained. But now I do tell. I can tell now that as I'm interacting, it's a one-way thing where I'm exuding some energy while we're interacting, and then there's nothing coming back to fill back up the energy. So, it's kind of it makes a lot of sense now why in the past, when I've only focused on helping other people and exuding energy, that I would have these withdrawal periods where I'd have to lay in bed for a week where I don't see anyone for a week because my energy was just too far gone, too far depleted to do anything. And now it's, for an example, I went in, I did my walk. During the walk, I had this overflowing energy. It was overflowing. And throughout the day, that slowly got kind of siphoned away. And now I'm tired, but I can still function, I can still do things. I'm prepared for bed. I'm going to get recharged as I sleep. So I'm not too worried about the little energy loss I had. But this new dynamic is something that I can distinctly feel that I didn't even know existed, but was still affecting me. So yeah, it's and again, I don't think any of these people that I've interacted with, they're just existing without really the full understanding of knowledge of what's going on with them. And something really funny, I'm going to quote Jesus a little bit. It's not exactly perfect, but when Jesus was talking about the idea of forgive them for they know not what they do, it's something to that effect, okay? It's not exactly perfect, but what that quote means, or at least what I'm understanding about that quote, is when you're asleep effectively. And what I mean by that is not that they're physically asleep, but that they're asleep to their inner self. They're asleep to the idea of even working on this inner part of themselves. Maybe they do it passively, that's fine. But they're not awake in so much as they don't know who they really are. With people who are like that, they're acting instinctually, even though obviously we're having communications, we're talking, we're interacting, but it's coming from a place where they don't fully understand the bigger picture of what's going on with themselves. And for people who are awake, and who do like see more, and you know, there are stages, and I think this is like awakening really is the different stages of literally waking up. Like yeah, I like, okay, a lot of the like, I just kind of came to some realizations that a lot of the verbiage, like awakenings, spiritual awakenings, this awakening, that awakening, you know, people who are like asleep, all of these like different things, it's all kind of pointing to the idea that like there's more going on, and there's different phases that people can see. And as you kind of awaken, you can see more and more of the bigger picture. And people who are asleep, aka not awake, you need to forgive them for the things they do, because they truly don't understand what they're doing. And I'm not saying from an intellectual standpoint, I'm not saying they don't follow rules. That's not what I'm talking about. It simply is that they act from a place of ignorance. Here's an example. Say you have someone who is an Olympic swimmer, and then you have someone who just started learning to swim. The Olympic swimmer knows all of the mechanics of how to get the best swimming strokes, and like using your feet a certain way, and like all of the like mechanical things. And so they have a really deep understanding of how to swim. If they were to try and teach the beginner swimmer how to swim the way they do, the beginner swimmer would not understand. And in fact, the beginner swimmer might get upset. Especially if the beginner swimmer didn't know this person at all. They don't know that this person's an Olympic swimmer. And so maybe they'll lash out and say, well, what do you know? Like, you know, I'm doing my best out here, and like, it's really hard to swim. The Olympic swimmer could get mad at this new swimmer and say, well, I'm an Olympic swimmer, and you should listen to what I have to say. Maybe they'll listen, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll, I don't believe you, you know, whatever. Or you could choose to forgive the person for the ignorance with which they're standing from. They don't know how to swim very well. They don't understand all the mechanics that you just explained to them. And so to them, it's so foreign that it's like, you might as well be like speaking in a different language. And especially if you're kind of like trying to gently correct them on something, like, hey, you know, when you use your arm this way, maybe you're like doing it suboptimally or whatever. You know, whatever the swimmer's like critique was to try and help them like learn how to swim better. And if they listened, they definitely could become a better swimmer faster. But if they don't listen, you know, or they ridicule, or they like, you know, whatever it is, forgiving the person for not truly understanding, because they can't even comprehend that they don't understand. If you don't know that you don't know something, then you're kind of fucked. Hence being ignorant, right? So we wouldn't blame the beginner swimmer in the same way that if you were talking to someone who also was an Olympic swimmer and you both were communicating about swimming techniques, and then the one person is like, says something pretty like rude or whatever, that's a different level. They understand, and I'm not saying don't forgive them, obviously, but like, they understand all of the stuff you've been talking about. You're on the same kind of wavelength, so that's totally different than going from a level of ignorance. So getting back, the point of that analogy is people who are asleep, you have to just forgive them. Regardless of what they do, you have to forgive them. Because they don't know the true ramifications of what they're doing. You can protect yourself. You can, whatever it is. But you just have to remember, you're the one who understands and has a higher kind of knowledge base that you're working from. So, of course, the things that you see as obvious may not be obvious to them. And so, this is also why I really, truly believe unconditionally loving someone, unconditionally forgiving them are like two cornerstones to not only helping them, but also helping yourself. Because when you do that, you do not hold on to any baggage when it comes to any of the people that you interact with. Do I love my roommates? Yes, of course. I love them. I want to support them in any way I can. Does that mean that I should lower my sense of happiness in order to accommodate like a desire that someone has? No. And this is the line here where it's like, you take care of yourself, you make sure that the inner tranquility is there, and then you interact externally. And when you interact externally, if someone says something that says or does something that you're not okay with, you set your boundary, you forgive, you love, you move on. It's that simple. And over time, the people who are also awakened will be able to see you and be drawn to you because they can see that you also know. And the things we know are all different, that's fine. But there's some commonalities. And we have different terms, whatever, no problem. But yeah, that's just like, that's a really powerful understanding that I think I'm really getting reinforced here. Where it's like, yeah, make sure that I have enough energy, and then do what I can. Don't do too much. Like, my buddy, I didn't say that I was going to go meet him tomorrow. He's probably going to get out. So if he does get out, I might pick him up. I told him, hey, if you need a ride, I can pick you up and take you home or whatever. But, yeah, it's just kind of like, I'm going to focus on getting my stuff done. And if he needs help after I got my stuff done, no problem. And, I'm not someone who's inflexible. Like, obviously, I can make sure that, like, if someone's in an emergency and they really need me at that very moment, like, of course I'll do my best. But you know, still making sure to, like, have the balance. Like, okay, you know, I move things around to make sure I can, like, take care of the emergency, but immediately after I'm, like, back working on my own thing, right? But those compromises are very few and far between, because most of the time, is it most of the time? Let me think. Because I'm realizing that, like, okay, so it's an emergency. So what if there's always an emergency? Does that mean you just push aside everything? I think the answer is no. So what does that mean? Like, do you deal with an emergency in an unhurried manner where you finish up what you're doing and then you deal with it? I guess it depends on what constitutes an emergency. Because I'm thinking, like, if someone's dying, like, literally dying, and it's like you have to, like, get there right at the moment or whatever. But I feel like, you know, calling, like, 911, getting, like, ambulance, all of that stuff, like, that makes more sense. So, like, what would an emergency be that I would be called for specifically? That would involve me stopping what I'm doing. I don't know. Like, if it's truly an emergency, you would call the paramedics or the police, depending on what it is you need. Now, obviously, if I'm there at the very moment, so an example, let's say my buddy had a seizure or a stroke or whatever while I was literally with him, that's different, obviously. But at that point, I've already taken care of my stuff. So I guess it really boils down to basically taking care of all of your stuff first before interacting with other people. Or, in the case of, like, you know, if I have a significant other and we both, like, do similar things to take care of ourselves, maybe doing it together. Like, obviously that's fine. But yeah, I don't know. So I guess what this really means is you shouldn't compromise taking care of yourself at all. Because if you always are taking care of yourself, then you would never be put in a situation where you haven't taken care of yourself and there's an emergency. Because most of the time, if there's, like, an emergency, it's like, oh, I need you to help me right now with something, and so you find out it's like, I needed to go to the store for groceries, right? Or, like, it's an emergency. What is it? I'm out of milk. It's like, okay, well, like, you know, yeah, okay, so I guess, like, obviously I'm not going to be, like, completely inflexible, right? But that flexibility kind of hinges on, like, what the thing is that I need to be flexible with. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I kind of just worked through that because I felt like something was wrong with that statement. So I had to work through, like, what I actually felt about it. And I think I've just come to the conclusion, unless there's something that is, like, very special case, I don't think there's ever really a time when you should compromise on taking care of yourself, because that's a very vital thing in keeping you going. And maybe my understanding will change over time, but sounds like that's what it's going to be for now. And I think that's really important. Okay. Well, I want to eat my food. It's getting late. I'm pretty tired. So I guess have a good night, everyone, and I will see you all tomorrow. I guess it's gonna be Wednesday tomorrow. So exciting. Okay, bye.